we've had a recent open position and we're bringing some people through and people that are older than me. And my boss will introduce me, this is Eric. He's one of the project managers. And people look at me like, how old is this kid? So it's funny. It really, if you put your nose to the grindstone and you take the time to learn and cultivate relationships, and you can, doesn't matter how old you are or how long you've been in the industry, you can do some good here.
This is Facility Rockstars, the podcast that celebrates the unsung heroes of our daily lives, facility professionals. I'm your host, Jay Culbert. Join me as we honor these great leaders, sharing stories, insights, and expertise that empower us all to learn and grow together. Facility Rockstars is sponsored by Coludus, operating the way you operate in order to make your life easier. Welcome back to Facility Rockstars. I'm your host, Jay Culbert. Buckle up. Today's guest has a ton of energy and a ton of experience, and you're definitely going to enjoy engaging with him. He's an experienced project manager in the facilities field. I can't wait to learn more from him and his experience in managing complex facility operations. He is a specialist in data analytics and reporting, leveraging data to provide insights and drive informed decision-making within facilities support. He's an expert in process improvement and automation, dedicated to streamlining workflows and enhancing efficiency in areas like planned maintenance and project bidding. He's a leader in virtual team member management and training, adept at guiding and developing remote teams, while also excelling in software piloting and setup. He currently serves as the Senior Facility Support Project Manager at EEG America. Eric Beissner, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jay. I appreciate it. I think this is an awesome opportunity, and I'm really excited to have a great conversation with you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for investing your time and having interest in sharing your experience with all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, are you familiar with the show?
I am familiar. Yes, I listened a couple times to make sure that I got the lay of the land before we hopped on here.
You may even know a couple of previous guests, I'm told.
Yep.
Oh,
Shout out to Rob Cox.
There you go. So you can anticipate what I'm going to ask you next.
Mm-hmm.
With all of your experience, right? Everything you've done, different positions you've held, different leaders you've worked for or worked with, what's been your biggest lesson learned?
I'd have to say that the biggest lesson that I've learned, especially being a younger person in the world of facilities, is that not everything you're going to deal with is black or white. And for me, that just means, being agile, adapting, everything in facilities is constantly changing. The type of equipment that we use, the way that vendors perform different services and try to sell you on different services, softwares and AI and, outsourcing work and all these different things. It's a truly a ever changing world. And so, I think, a good way to kind of describe it is, one of my first projects in project management. I was given this project to replace. We had a bunch of safes. We're changing contracts with providers, and so they said, "Hey, there may be some facilities work involved. You may have to move some stuff. You may have to cut some counters or whatever." And so, yeah, that's easy. Um, I've been doing this for a month or two now. I'm sure I can figure it out. And the first 2 weeks of the project, I screwed up every last thing. I didn't have the right places set up for the safes, and in some stores I didn't have set up at all. And my boss at the time kind of stopped me and said, "Hey, man, like, are you paying attention to this? Are you working on it?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was going to be this involved. I thought we were just moving safe." So that project, really opened my eyes to the world of facilities and project management. And you have to be ready for the things that aren't easy and the things that challenge you. And so that project, I would like to say, put the hair on my chest in a sense. But it taught me to be creative, and we did some really cool creative things. I built cubbies for people. We made people were concerned about safety, so we're putting up, trying to describe it, like doors and stuff, so to try to block off areas so people don't see the safes. They're a lot more bigger. They're more cumbersome. So that project was truly a lesson. The vendor we worked with was great, but they were, giving me a tough time because obviously rescheduling for them is very complicated. And it, involves more than just me and my side of it. So, yeah, that for me was the biggest lesson, but I think it gave me, an amazing toolbox to, attack every project and say, hey, you have to be ready and you have to be ready for everything. And if you have schedule dates and if you have, project deadlines, you need to meet them and you need to be prepared that someone may call you an hour before they're going to be installing and say, hey, this is messed up. But there's a bunch of things that go into that, right? Like I said, being agile and adapting and being creative. But there also is a relationship component to it in the sense of you need to be able to call your people, your vendors, your in-house people, whatever you have, whatever your network is, and say, hey, I need a favor. I need you to drop everything you're doing and go to this place right now and help me get this done so we can avoid any issues. So it really, that lesson is kind of what got me going and set me up for success. And that was about 3 years ago. And that's when I was a project manager, and now I'm a senior project manager. So I like to think that some of that, steered me in the right direction and got me to where I am today. And now it's, things come up and it just, you make decisions and you fly and you move on to the next. And especially here at EG, we have 1,400 stores, and you're doing projects that touch two, three, four, 500 stores, all the stores. You're running programs, landscaping, snow plowing, that touch all of or the majority of the stores. And so, that framework or that mentality, helps me with all of those things and not just, the safe project. It really is a little bit of everything. So,
It sounds like it was a great foundation, and fail fast and learn from it. And it
yep.
certainly sounds like you definitely learned from that and you put
Mhm.
things in place. Did you put any project plan? Like what did you put in place as a result of that learning?
Essentially, that specific project was like, all right, we have different types of stores. We have like four, five, six different models. And that's just Cumberland Farms. We're actually our company is 10 different banners of stores. So outside of Cumberland Farms, which is, I first started at Cumberland Farms. So, and then we got bought. So that's how, we ended up with all these different banners, all these stores that came from different acquisitions from different people and kind of trickled their way all into one company, multiple different store types. So for that, it was like, all right, we know the stores that are older, we're going to have to do some extra work. For the stores that are newer, those are pretty much a like for like swap. They already have the new safes, they have the counter space. So it was, and for older stores, there's a couple hundred. So it's, you had to have an idea. Every store is different. A lot of it was like, all right, anytime we encounter this type of store, we know that it has a concrete safe. We're pulling the concrete safe out. We're jackhammering it in the parking lot and throwing it away, and that's where the new safe's going. And like I said, there was ones where I had to get creative, build a cubby. There's just not enough space. Some really tight stores, some really tight old stores. And so, yeah, the project plan essentially became making sure that you have any of your modifications done 2 weeks ahead of time, communicating with the store, communicating with the vendor, communicating with the DM that they're happy with, the new placement or happy with the work that we did. If you're adding cubbies, if you're doing different things, make sure you paint it and make it look normal. No one
Mhm,
likes just like a box of wood, hanging out at their checkout. So there was multiple different pieces that it was like, hey, anytime it's kind of like a if this then that. You kind
mhm.
of create a, like you said, a framework, a project plan where it's if I encounter this, this is what I'm going to do next. And then the guys that I was working with, by the time we got to two, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 of these, they already knew what I wanted. So they're already coming up with their ideas. Hey, we did this is like that last store. Let's do it this way. It looked well that way. It worked well that way. And so yeah, it's when you have situations like that, you develop a plan, you learn from your mistakes, you develop a plan, and then you take it forward. And still there's gonna be times where that plan doesn't work and you gotta have a plan B, a plan C. So
Back to the black and white and be agile, right?
yep,
1,400 locations. I didn't realize that. That's enormous.
yep,
That's extensive. So it begs the question,
yep.
how do you communicate with all of them?
So that's a great question. Our ops team is amazing. I'll give them all the credit in the world. We have regional managers, district managers. So district managers have around 10 stores. Regional managers will have several different districts. And then you have the VPs. And so depending on the breadth of your project, you kind of use different levels to get to everyone, right? Like I said, not every project is touching every store. So if you're touching 10, 15, 20, 30 stores, you're just getting with the DMs there and saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is the schedule. This is the project plan. If you have any questions, if you have any issues, please reach out.
Mhm.
When you do like company wide rollouts, like we just changed our pest provider and that affects all 1,400 stores. And so for that, you have to use a group of multiple different tactics, right? All the stores are on think time, which is kind of like an enterprise communication. They do store hours and stuff like that. So you're putting together a letter and you're putting it on think time, and the managers have to acknowledge it and make sure they're looking at it. Same thing, you're sending that to all the DMs and RMs and saying, hey, this change is coming. This is the date. You follow up with that several times. We usually set up some form of meeting. It could be kind of like an office hours meeting. We set up 4 meetings and say, hey, pick which one works best for you, and come listen to us kind of give you a 10-15 minute spiel on the upcoming project, the upcoming situation. You can drill it from the top down and let the VPs know, and they kind of spread the word. So you do as many different things as you can, because no one form of communication is perfect or the end all be all. And so you put it as many different places as you can. And you can even create, like for snow and landscape, mostly snow, we have like an escalation email that goes to everyone on the team. So you provide them with like a one-way piece of contact, so that they can reach out at any time and get the people that they need to get. So it's really not like a one do it one way. It's do it as many ways as possible, even if it
Mhm.
annoys the crap out of everybody, because that's going to get the point across. And then when you have a situation where a store's like, I don't know who my snow provider is, it's like, well, we sent it to you 100 times, but here's your snow provider, always there to be happy and help out. There's plenty of those. Hey, my snow provider hasn't been here, that's this person. It's like, well, you've been calling the wrong vendor, but that's okay. Here's the contact for the vendor. We've even mailed stores a sheet that has lays everything out. This is what happens if you have a problem. This is who you reach out to. This is your vendor. It says in nice big bold letters, but
I
to
bet
give
you can very quickly determine who reads things and pays
yes.
attention and who doesn't.
Yes, I actually was talking to a store manager once, and the last piece was my email. I sent a piece of information out with my 1,400 stores and my email at the bottom, to say, if you really can't get anything, this is who you reach out to. And she shoots me an email and calls me, and I was like, well, did you reach out to the provider? And she's like, no, I didn't. I'm sorry. I actually read your notice from the bottom up. And I was like, you know what? Creds to you. At least you read it. So it really is. You have a lot of people who are busy, who are working hard, and everything in their store is going on, and so you got to realize that everything you're doing, your life, everything you're doing, they're not focusing on you all the time. They're just trying to run their store and be successful and make some money.
Right.
So
You mentioned relationships and, having people that'll at the drop of a dime, they'll do what is needed. And I think this is a really critical, I mean, it's such a critical topic. It's a common theme on the show. People talk about this quite a bit because it's so very important. Could you give an example of that? And, how did you build the relationship and what played out as a result?
So I think, a big thing for relationships, especially in our environment, is, reward the people that do well for you, right? I think if you talk to any facilities person, they'll have two lists, right? They'll have a list of the people they love, and they'll have a list of the people that they hate. And it's unfortunate there's some negativity involved with that, but that kind of is what it is. The people that do well for you. And so um when I get projects, we're obliged to get multiple quotes, especially depending on the dollar amount. But I make sure to let my people know, like, hey, I'm coming to you first. I want to see what your pricing looks like. Just so you know, we've reached out to other people to get pricing. And if I think we have something really good, and I think that you're the perfect person for the project, I'd give you the opportunity to match if that's what happens. But overall, like, the people that are going to price it right for you. The people that can get it done. And so it's kind of balancing those two things. And like I said, after you do a couple projects with someone, you really understand, this person can do this for me. And I think too, and one of the things we've been doing recently is get people in front of you, get people in the building. We've been inviting people to come through. We just had all four of our snow providers come through the office and meet with us, and we kind of ran through, hey, this is what went great this season, and this is what didn't, and our contract has this, and do you think we should change that? Is there anything we should do? So it's the give and take. It's getting people in front of you and communicating with people, just like you communicate with your customer, the end customer, right? The store or whatever your end customer is. Just the same way you communicate with them, you communicate with your vendors and your people, and you say, hey, you provided pricing for this project. I think it's a little high. Like, is there any opportunity for you to come down or adjust? Or, unfortunately, if this is what it is, and I'm going to have to try to figure something else out. So, and it also is understanding too that everything you have and everything you throw at your trusted people, like, just because they're your trusted person doesn't mean they can do everything for you. So you do have opportunities and situations where they can't complete the work or they can't drop anything for you. but that's why you have multiple people. That's why you have a
Hmm.
plan. You be agile, you adapt, you have
Hmm.
multiple people, you can call and do that with. So I think, and after years, so it's like I said, I'm a young person, right? I'm 29 in facilities. Some of these people I've grown up with. I've been in this specific department with, 60, 70% of the same people for 9 8 9 years.
That's a testament to, I would say, the culture and the
Yep.
company,
Yep.
because you don't hear that too often.
No, and it's funny, I think I said this to you when we first met. I call my situation half nepotism, right? Both of my parents work here. My brother worked here for a bit. And I like to think that, maybe it's just the name that got my foot in the door. And I know I applied for multiple internships and I didn't get one of them. And but one of the things I talked about and I did, got me in front of the facilities team. And so I like to call it half nepotism. And both my parents, my mom has been here for coming up on 45 years. Like, shout out to
Wow.
her. She's amazing. She's almost famous here. It's an interesting, to walk around and have people be like, "Oh, are you Sherry's son?" I guess it's funny on her end. She gets a bit of, "Oh, are you Eric's mom?" So it's funny how it works that way. But my dad's been he has worked for either Cumberland Farms or EG or Gulf. They're kind of all had been at one point the same company. He's been here for 30, 40 years too. So both of them seeing and to kind of go on that, right? Like, this is all I know. I grew up going to Cumberland Farms and getting my slushy and getting my meatball sub. I was the kid, so it's that part of it, seeing your parents dedicate their life to a company and the success of the company, the ups and downs. There's times where things weren't great. And, this company, there was uncertainty. So, you see a bit of that and you kind of say, that works. Will I be at this company forever? I have no clue. I'd like to hope so. I really like this place and I like the people and I like what I do. But who knows what the future holds. But yeah, so I'm a young person growing up and I have to, navigate some of these things. And so some of these relationships I've built over years. And it sounds funny, you're talking to a 29-year-old kid, but that's just how long I've been around here. And I think that's, a testament to where I'm at and how I got in this position. And we've had a recent open position and we're bringing some people through and people that are older than me. And my boss will introduce me, this is Eric. He's one of the project managers. And people look at me like, how old is this kid? So it's funny. It really, if you put your nose to the grindstone and you take the time to learn and cultivate relationships, and you can, doesn't matter how old you are or how long you've been in the industry, you can do some good here. So
Oh, I absolutely. You've clearly earned it. You know what you're talking about. You're doing it, and that's at the end of the day, that's what matters, right?
mhm,
Sure,
absolutely.
there's always the experience factor, sure, but no, thanks for sharing that. Half nepotism, love
Half nepotism.
it. So talk to me about the world of planned maintenance and facilities project management versus break fix. Could you expand on that topic a bit?
Yes. So originally, when I first started this situation, I went from a project coordinator, kind of doing like whole department stuff, to a project manager, and that was my first experience with. It was a lot of rollouts, hence the safe project, but it was stuff like grease trap cleanings and septic cleanings, dealing with the fire alarm systems and the burglar alarm systems. We were doing power washing, we were doing line striping, and then, over the course of a couple years, we got folded into the people that do the snow plowing and the landscaping. So you're kind of doing all these ever changing programs that you do year after year. And so it's a little bit different. Like, break fix, you definitely learn, but you're more reactive. The world of PMs is interesting because you can do some of this work and then have the opportunity to be like, hey, next year we can do it this way. We can, change this provider here. And, you get the opportunity to fine tune it. Not to say that you can't do that with break fix, but that taking out that reactive part of it is a little bit nicer. Not to say that there aren't emergencies, there's plenty. And you have septic systems back up and septic systems that fail and you're replacing whole systems. And you have pump stations that are broken and you have 2 3 days to fix it before you have sewage in your store. And especially with dealing with customers, and people can smell that stuff and know it's coming from a mile away. So not to say that there is an emergency or break fix in this world, but yeah, there's a bit more to it. You have to make sure that stuff gets done right. Fire alarm inspections, grease permits, certain things that you can't even open a store without doing. So it has its own challenges, right? And it has its own things.
Mhm.
Landscaping, is your landscaping getting done if you have a competitor across the street and you miss a lawn mowing, like, that competitor looks great and you kind of look bad. And so, all these things are not necessarily break fix, but different, a very different and just as much pressure type of world. Um, and so, yeah, it's been cool, it's been fun, it's been hard, right? Same thing, 1,400 stores. Do you even know all your stores that need landscaping, right? We inherited a lot of these stores, so you hear even now, that was like 5, 6 years ago. Even now, you still hear things like, "Hey, we've had this irrigation system that hasn't worked in 6 years," and it's like, "Oh, we didn't even know that you had that here." So, there have been times in older stores where 2, 3 years ago, I get a call, "Hey, the whole store's backed up. Did you guys know you had a grease trap here? By the way, it's full with solids from top to bottom." And so there's plenty of those things, especially when you're inheriting locations. You're a company that acquires people and goes through those things. It's you didn't build them. You don't even have the plans. You gotta, get in there and figure it out. So it's cool. I think, and not to say, I mean, we do some of the real estate work. So we do the break fix on if we have tenants, we have different locations that have real estate spaces. Like you do the break fix. So I get that experience too, which is nice to get to see both sides.
Sure.
But the world of planned maintenance is cool, especially if you're dealing with like HVACs and fountain soda stuff. That little extra work you do, that little money you spend, maybe keeps your equipment up a little bit longer than it should be, or those types of things. You can asset tag, which I mean, I know Rob was talking about. It was cool.
Mhm.
We had some exposure to that with a company called Equip ID here. We tagged all our assets, and unfortunately, couldn't find a great way to make that system work with our current system. So we're kind of going back to try to figure out how to do this right, especially with 1,400 stores. So plan service covers a little bit of everything. Obviously, rollouts and those types of one-time projects are also a cool experience. Again, you get to be more proactive with what you're doing,
Sure.
and you get to touch different things, electrical and different stuff like that, depending on what the project requires. So it's kind of like a bucket of everything. You get to do a little bit of everything. So.
So a question about planned maintenance then, what works best with it? And then just can you share with us something that didn't go quite right?
Yeah, so the thing that works best is having a system that does a lot of the work for you. So we use Service Channel. We're a Service Channel company. The VP of our department actually came from Service Channel and kind of was a part of the group that really got Service Channel off the ground and is the platform it is today. I know a lot of people use it. So that system has an automated work order system, and just like most systems nowadays, it's pretty standard to have that. So we issue all our work on reoccurring basis. So all of our inspections, right? All of our cleanings, all the landscape, pest control, you name it, floor cleaning, any sort of cleanings, like all of those things go through that. So you can issue the work and it's nice to know that it's out there, but what are you doing to make sure it gets done? That's the biggest challenge for sure. And that's something that one, two, three people, that could be their whole job, is just following up with vendors, getting schedules from people. Hey, you missed this service by a week, 2 weeks, like coil cleanings, right? For HVAC units. Like you don't want to miss those, right? That could be the difference of a system being up or being down. So the biggest challenge is, yeah, you can issue all that work, but what are you doing to make sure it gets done? And that
Great
I would
distinction.
and I would imagine, most big people who have a lot of stores. I know we're probably number 5 or 6 in terms of store count in America. I know that the other people that are in this world with us that have the same or more amount of stores, it's like they're dealing with the same thing.
Mhm.
How do you make sure these things get done? How do you maximize your dollars so that the PM money you're spending is actually benefiting you, giving you an ROI, preventing equipment from being down, making your stores look good, all those types of things. So.
Hey, rock stars. If you're tuning into the podcast and are feeling overwhelmed by all the maintenance demands at your facility, don't stress. We've got you covered. Our sponsor, Coludis, is your go-to partner to help you tackle all those demands and get them done right, on time, and with top-notch quality. From project planning to execution, Coludis is there to make hard work easy. Visit coludis.com today to get started. Awesome, man. You and I spoke earlier, or last time we talked, I forget, virtual coordinators. I know you have in-house people, like, or not in-house, but well, yeah, in-house and in person. But talk to us about the virtual coordinators and how you're leveraging that.
Yeah, so this is perfect, and goes along with kind of the last bit. So our solution for how do you make sure all this work gets done is, we have a couple virtual coordinators or two people based in the Philippines. They're absolutely amazing. I can't say enough good things about them. And that basically their whole job is they're contractors for us, and they go through all of our work orders, all of our ETA missed, checking in on open in progress, making sure that inspections are getting done. So before that was basically just me. I was a project manager and also my own dispatcher. And so, it's very hard to do both of those things at the same time. Like I said, you could spend all day, every day, just, hey, where's this? Is it done? So that's what those two people do for us pretty much exclusively. We give them certain projects and stuff and have them run through stuff, but they're basically becoming the lifeline of making sure that everything we're pushing out gets done, and then at that point, I just have to manage the programs or help manage the programs with our coordinators. We have three in-house coordinators that are absolutely amazing. But even them, they're doing, meeting with the vendors on a weekly basis. So even for them, it's hard to find that time to do all that stuff. And so the way this all came about was involving softwares. We're looking at different softwares, looking at if planned maintenance can go under a different software other than Service Channel. And one of the softwares we're looking at, the software came with the virtual coordinators. And so, because softwares are just inherently sticky, right? You can't just switch. Doesn't make sense to have, the whole department on multiple different softwares. So we said, hey, we really like the maintenance coordinator program you have. Is there any way we can do that without your software? Which most people would say no, but the company that we're working with was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's see if this is something different, and this is, a different product we can provide people. So that's what we did. We got to interview every person, right? They don't necessarily work directly for our company; they're a contractor, but we got to pick the people, and we tried to go by personality and people that we thought would be a good fit and kind of understood. All the people that we interviewed had unbelievable experience. A lot of them have worked for facilities companies or telephone companies, so their experience with being on the phone and following up with people. And so we found, like I said, two amazing people. And so, in essence, yes, outsource kind of. I don't like to think of it that way. And we actually just had a town hall meeting where our CEO said something interesting. He's like, I don't know if I necessarily believe in outsourcing because you have to have a really good process. And if you don't have a really good process, then you're just outsourcing something that someone else can control. And if they're not doing it well enough, that's kind of on you.
So
Um,
say more about having a really good process around outsourcing, please.
So in a sense, basically what we did was each person in this group made a training document, right? Which is all well and good. It's like, how do you get that information to people? And so some people are visual learners, some people are, like to have it all laid out in front of them. And so one of the cool things we did was I was told about this from that company about the software called Loom AI, and essentially it's a screen recording platform, that the AI side of it is it'll summarize your video, it'll chop it up into different sections, which is great. I think that's a really cool feature. Not necessary to have the AI part, but a really cool feature, and really something that helps people out if they're navigating through that. And so we made a series of videos that essentially was walking people exactly through these videos, but not in a way that's monotonous, right? Like it's me recording a video. There's a little bit personality to it, which is funny and cool, but they can see exactly how I'm looking at stuff. They can see exactly how I'm filtering my work orders. I get to dictate my process, via word. Like, hey, if you're going to send this work order to this specific company, make sure you reach out to them. And so our I'll call him an account manager on the other end of that company. He took my video and put it through AI, and so he makes this whole document. So it's cool. You get to really define the process, right? It's defined in a piece of paper, but it's also shown in a video. And so you're giving people access to that information. Now we don't just use that for virtual coordinators, we use it for all sorts of people. If I have a one-off situation, someone's like, hey, how do I do this in Service Channel? Or how do you normally do this? I'll make a 30-second, 1 minute video and shoot it to them. And it's just people, oh, that's what you're looking at. That's what I clicked. That's how you do it. It makes things faster. It makes things easier. And so you get to define the process, you get to show them the process. And now it's very clear, hopefully, between the both of you,
Mhm.
what's going on. So,
Absolutely brilliant. And now, is there forgive me if I missed it. Is there a parking lot or a folder or a file or a place where others can go and just say, "Hey, here's the library, guys and girls. Go here."
Yep. So you can share links. I have a library. I don't know who can see it. I'm sure you could give access to your library. But there's links. So the second you have that link, it's that link forever as long as you delete the video. So we put in a document, hey, this is section discusses all this for a video on it. Click this link. So we have it in living documents, but there also is a library. Again, I'm not sure if people can see my library. I'm sure I can share it with people. If you'd like to think with what that software can do, it should be able to be do that.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, so there's definitely places where people go and see that stuff.
You know, it sounds like you're not only utilizing but maximizing all different technologies to really like what I'm hearing is you're scaling what you're doing.
Mhm,
Like you're scaling it across what 1,400 locations. It's you, two virtual,
mhm.
and who else is doing what you're doing?
So we just had we brought on a second project manager. The guy who used to be my boss left, and so him and I kind of did a lot of stuff in tandem. So it's we have a new guy, we have three coordinators in house, and then we have our director, and we all tackle it as a team. I think we have an amazing team, a bunch of smart people, most of them new to this company besides me. Not necessarily new. Our director came from construction, but new to facilities in the past year and a half. Um, and so we've had to grab on to these things and figure out our way of doing it right, figuring out our process, and trying to break away from the way that it used to be done. Not that it was good, bad, or indifferent, but everyone's their processes work for them, and so you have to figure out, hey, what's the best way that we can do this. And like I said earlier, we're talking with the landscapers, the snowplows, what can we do different? So it's the idea of defining a process isn't just you dictate exactly what it is and that's what it is. It's usually better when you get everyone involved and say, this is what we're doing. Can we do anything better? Is there anything better that works for you? And
Mhm.
and our team, we have seven people, you know, putting their opinion in. And when you have that many people, you can come up with something amazing. You have seven different people who think differently and do differently and have different experiences at different companies and different softwares and different tools. And so you bring all that together and you get some pretty cool synergy. So
It's great. That sounds like amazing collaboration. I couldn't agree more because you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know, and when you get all those minds together, you can create some amazing stuff.
mhm,
Um, So I know we walked through the biggest lesson learned with the safe installation and change
mhm,
out and everything. I want to ask you about some of the best learning or information from the show comes from the things that didn't go well, right? Because
mhm,
all of our listeners are going to say, "Oh, that's what Eric had to deal with, right?
mhm,
How did he deal with it?" So,
mhm.
what was another example of something that just didn't go right, and what did you do, and how are you now avoiding that again?
So I think another thing, and it's kind of still in progress, or still figuring out exactly how to do this is, and it's kind of goofy, and I'm sure you'll get a good laugh, but it's actually exterior fire extinguishers. And you
Hmm.
don't think they'd be that much of a problem, but they do become a problem, and they become a problem that you see more often than you'd like, right? So we operate gas stations. Just NFPA code, you have to have a fire extinguisher, one fire extinguisher within 75 or 90 feet, I forget, of the gas canopy. It doesn't matter where you are. That's the whole country, so that's what it is. Um, and so people hit boxes with cars. People steal fire extinguishers, and they're not cheap. And you can obviously try to put them under insurance loss, and that's all well and good. So one of the great ideas we thought up is, hey, why don't we just, we'll take the boxes out. The box is the most expensive part. Let's take the box out. Let's just put them on hooks outside and see how that goes. And that was, I would say, fairly disastrous. One, you got the fire marshals that aren't really pumped about that. You're losing inspection tags left and right. People are stealing them, which our thought process is like, if someone's going to steal an extinguisher, they want an extinguisher, they're going to steal it. Doesn't matter what's there. We've had people break glass and all that good stuff. So yeah, we put them outside, and now we're trying to figure
I
out. It's
mean,
like
you must have sorry, but you must have cameras at the store
cameras,
too, right?
cameras, but you request a video, and it's this only. By the time you find out about it, it's like the camera only saves X amount of time.
Sure,
It's
sure.
it's a whole. You'd like to think in a perfect world, you're getting everyone who steals one, you're getting them. I like to think it's that perfect. Unfortunately, it's just not. So yeah, dealing with exterior extinguishers, it's like the biggest pain in my side. I probably have 300 work orders just dealing with those exact things. And so, yeah, so we're trying different things now. If you're gonna do stuff like that, find a better way to secure them, maybe the strap and hook type situation. Get some exterior tags or stickers or stuff that will hold up to the weather. You know, all the things you just don't think about. Say, hey, we're spending money on all these boxes. Let's just not use boxes. You think that, like I said, that's black and white, and that's sounds good and all, but yeah, that's been a fun one, and I know it's very specific, but to me, it's goofy, it's funny, but it also teaches you a lesson, right? That something you think is awesome and some initiative you think saves money, maybe creates a bigger headache for you, and you spend more money on and time on in the long run than you should. So,
Did you say 2 to 300 work orders?
minimum. We try to we try to like again. So you like when people and I'll give credit to our stores that they're very well versed in service channel. They know exactly where to go when they have a problem. And so yeah, the volume of work orders that we do is pretty spectacular. And even just for the PM world, right? Like if you have a 1,400 stores and you have stores that get, landscaping work orders every week, quick math, you're dealing with thousands of work orders. So it's
Mhm.
lots of stores, high volume software. It's a fantastic combo, to say the least. So
So I'm going to throw this out there, Eric. I know we don't have a crystal ball of what the perfect solution is going to be for you, but if there's anyone in the audience listening right now and you've dealt with this exterior fire extinguisher, please get in touch with Eric, right?
just just put a box back. Just put it back in a box. Maybe not one with a glass cover, because then you get into situations where people are like, "Hey, this is actually a custom piece of glass." Just do the nice plastic boxes. They're like $50 on Granger or something like that. Just do the nice, easy ones. You don't have to put them on hooks. You don't have to put them outside. Just do the right thing. That's my end all be all of that one. So
Something I certainly never would have thought of, like
yeah.
to be such a huge issue. But
Oh,
yeah.
and it's like you don't realize how much of an issue it is until you try to solve it and you make it worse. So, and then even if it goes right, like I go to a store. My wife is from Western Mass. There's Cumberland Farms in Western Mass, so we like to go to Cumberland Farms in Western Mass. We go out there. I'm at a store. Every time you hop out of the car, you poke around, you look around a little bit, and I have five extinguishers, beautiful in the box. The box is clean. It looks great, and I got one right in the middle, sitting there on a hook, and it's just like, that one really sticks out. So I had to go into the store, and I didn't know the manager. You'd like to think to, like, all the managers. You don't. I walked in and I'm like, hey, I just want you to know I'm the guy who did that middle extinguisher, and I'm sorry. Like, I'll put in a work
Oh, that was
order.
good
I'll,
of you.
yeah,
Very
I'll
good
put
of you.
the kid looking at me is like, all right, buddy, like he couldn't tell if I was telling the truth or not. But I said, I'll put in a work order. I'll make sure I fix that for you. So
So, all right, here's my next question for you, Eric. You're clearly dealing with a lot and you're doing a great job at it. So, what advice would you give someone in a similar role to you?
So the advice, I think I have two good pieces, and one is kind of a life piece, and the other is kind of like an organization piece. And you and I had chat about this before. Write stuff down, whether it's a phone note, whether it's a piece of paper. Just keep a running list somewhere, especially if you feel like you're in a high volume situation. Um, cross stuff out, do it in a way that helps you remember. It's very easy for me, especially, to get in this world caught up in so many different projects. And then you're getting emails and your phone calls and, hey, where's this? What's up with this project? And you're like, what project? So it's do the things you have to do to help yourself remember, and try not to be too hard on yourself when you forget. And then in kind of flux with that situation, do the things you like to do in life outside of work. Especially in the world of facilities, my phone is ringing all the time. Doesn't matter what hour of day or night. Emergencies don't wait for business hours, right? Like, so do the things in your life you like to do. Have a hobby. Do it after work. You don't have to work all night. Work when you have to work all night. Do those things, right? Like, do what you have to do to get yourself and your people and your stores or whatever in a good situation. But find time for yourself. Do the things you like, spend time with your family, with your friends, turn off your phone, don't look at your email for an hour or two. You need to decompress from the stress of the things you deal with every day, especially if you're dealing with high volume situations. Sometimes you need to just the best thing to do is not think about it at all, and maybe that's the time you think of the right solution or the right strategy. But take time for yourself and don't let it consume your life because it can and it will if you let it. So,
That is phenomenal advice. Both pieces, by the way. That's fantastic. Thank you. I couldn't agree more.
mm.
Um, well, that's a perfect time to ask you this then. Aside of everything you're doing, what are those things outside of work that you enjoy doing? You know, what does Eric do when he's not fixing fire hydrants?
so
I'm sorry, fire extinguishers.
So, and I guess this goes to the whole thing. It's like, I think I have too many hobbies. I love to cook. I cook dinner for me and my wife every night. Not that she can't cook, but I love it. I like to exercise a lot. I go to the gym, 4 or 5 days a week. That to me is unbelievably therapeutic, proven to be amazing for stress and stuff like that. Even if it's going on a half-hour walk, just something, move your body every day. I love doing that stuff. I'm in a band with my brother and our friends. We have a really fun band. We haven't played any shows in a while, but we play some shows in the Boston area, in the Fall River area. Shout out to Joey T and the Dirty Burners. They're all older than me. I have nothing to do with that name. They're all 4 years older than me and all my brother's friends from high school. But we have fun. We're like every genre you can think of. We're ska, we're punk, we're rock. Our two lead singers are both, jam band guys. Our drummers into a little bit of everything. My brother plays bass. He's like a heavy metal guy, but he'll play anything. And I play the keyboard, and I play actually saxophone on the keyboard, which is you'd think sounds goofy. It's really fun. It's really
No,
awesome.
that's awesome.
And
And you could
so,
hang the sax around your neck while you're
yeah,
playing the keys,
yeah.
right?
My wife's dad got me a pair of Elton John sunglasses, so I wear them from time to time. Yeah. So
Oh man, you should have worn them on the show. Come on.
it woulda, coulda, shoulda. So, yeah, so I'm in a band and we play and we make music and that you wanna talk about a great stress release is just, making some good music with your friends, even if it's just jamming something goofy. So we try to get together once a week. Not to shamelessly plug, but we have an album coming out soon. We have, 4 or 5 songs on anywhere you consume music, Spotify, Apple Music. So,
So say
that's
again the name of the band and what's the album coming out?
Joey T and the Dirty Burners, and we have one more song to do before we release an album. It's a little bit of everything for everyone. I'm sure there's some songs you listen to, you're like, I have no clue what I just listened to, and I think there's some songs you listen to, and you're like, that's amazing. So, we've played like Somerville, Porch Fest, and so we've done some cool stuff, and I'm very thankful for those guys and how they allow me to get away from work, even if it's just for an hour or two a week. So that's really fun. And like I said, just hanging out with my wife and traveling around. We hop in the car on a weekend, and we'll come back 8 hours later and either have done a bunch of stuff or done nothing. So just doing the things I like to do helps me escape, the stress of being in a very very high volume, stressful work environment. So
That is awesome, man. Good for you. That's so cool. I have a question about the band. So what was your
sure.
favorite gig?
So my favorite one is I like playing covers, but it's fun when you get to play just a set of all your songs. So one of our other friend bands, their name is Bleach the Sky. They played like a reunion anniversary show at a bar in Somerville called the Burren. And so they asked us to
I know
open
the
for them.
burn.
So we played 10 of our original songs in front of a large crowd of like 30 people, right? 25 people, but it was fun and it sounded good. We were all mic'd up, and it's, better than playing in a basement. And so that was awesome and that was fun. And, if you go on our Instagram page, you'll see some videos of some B-roll of that, which is awesome. So
Super cool, man. So can we get you on Spotify now or we're waiting for the final
there,
song?
we have 5 songs on Spotify, four
Yeah.
songs on Spotify or Amazon Music or whatever. They're out now, so you can go get a good sample, but we have some really good ones, up our sleeve that are going to come out with the album, whenever we finally finish that last song. So.
Sweet. I'm giving it a listen on the way home today.
And I think you're gonna laugh to yourself. Like, I understand what he meant by this is a little bit of everything. So
What I used to play too, and we played in the basement most of the time, and it
yep,
was like every genre too, because every
yep,
guy wanted something different. So
hmm,
whatever rolls, whatever
that's
works.
awesome.
You're an absolute pleasure to talk with, man. Um, so people are going to want to get in touch with you. I'm sure of it. So what's the best way? What contact information do you want to share so people can ask more questions?
Yeah, I would say reach out to me on LinkedIn. I try my best to answer. If you're trying to sell me something, no offense, there's so many people trying to sell me stuff, so that's hard. I try not to overconsume those types of things. But yeah, if you find me on LinkedIn and you wanna have a quick conversation just about life or music or food or the world of facilities, feel free to reach me there. Eric Beissner on LinkedIn. So
Awesome, man. Eric, I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, a wealth of knowledge and experience. And yeah, man, thanks for taking the time of being on the show with me.
absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, I've never been approached to do a podcast before, but I saw Rob do it and I said, why the heck not? So shout out Rob and honestly, shout out to everybody, all my bosses and all the people that have helped me, at EG and in life, get me to this position. I've learned a lot from a lot of people and that's why I'm here right now. So
Thanks, man. That's awesome. And everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. If you learned something, if you laughed, if you want to join the band, let Eric know. But it's been a rocking show this week, and we'll catch everyone next week on Facility Rockstars. It's a wrap. Another episode of Facility Rockstars is in the books. Facility Rockstars is sponsored by Coludus, operating the way you operate in order to make your life easier. Until next time, facilitate and rock on.